And just one second. Session 2, and we'll be continuing with chapter 13. Unfortunately, Sugiti will not be joining me today, and so we'll look at the verses. So let's chant the Mangala Charan and invoke auspiciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Undinataranam Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So let's begin with Gita Rewind. These are the questions which are based on the previous session. The questions are in front of you, and I'm just launching the poll, which I cannot do. See if you can launch the poll. So I hope all of you can see the poll, and please mark the poll. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So time to check our answers. Question 1. Body or kshetra is the field of activity, and first option is the right answer, and most of you got it right. Question 2. Kshetragya is the one who knows his body, knows this body and not identify with the body. So the correct answer is C or both. Okay, so next question, question 3. What is called knowledge or jnanam? So one who understands the body, understands the soul, understands the super soul. So correct answer is D, all of the above. Again, most of you got it right. Next question. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra are the bona fide authorities for knowledge transfer. That was an easy one. A or true is the right answer. Next, what is the number of elements constitute the material body? Option B is the right answer. So quite a few of you got it right. That's good. You're paying attention when we are discussing in the last session. There are how many changes in the body? There are 6 changes in the body. So option C is the right answer. So if you have not got it, I request you to review the previous session and clarify this particular question. It's important to know this. Happiness and distress. Next question. are qualities of the body, changes of the body, qualities of the soul. So little confusing options are there, but the option A is the right answer. Next, what is the most important quality that one should possess? So among the different qualities that we discussed in 8 to 12 verses in last session, constant and unalloyed devotion to Krishna, option B, is the most important quality. Again, many of you got it right. Simplicity means, and the answer is C, without duplicity. Simplicity means without duplicity. C is the right answer. Real method of acquiring knowledge is cultivating saintly character. Well, if we were a little attentive in the last session, we saw that if we had all these saintly qualities, but if we are not devotees of the Lord, then they are useless. And on the other hand, if we develop devotion to Krishna, then what happens? All saintly qualities naturally arise. I don't have to make separate endeavor to cultivate these saintly qualities. Just by practicing devotional service, by becoming a sincere, nice devotee of the Lord, all these wonderful qualities arise in me. And therefore, the answer to this question is false. That was maybe a tricky one for some of you. So thank you for answering that quiz, and then let's move ahead. So today, among the 5 sections we have completed till verse 12, we will be looking at the section soul and super soul, that is from the verse 13 to 19. So in this particular verse, you remember that in the beginning, Arjuna asked a question, Kshetra, Kshetragya, and another item that he asked was Gayam, or the object of knowledge. So here in this particular section, Krishna is going to explain Gayam, or object of knowledge. So who is the real object of knowledge? What if we know of, then all our bondage is removed and we are situated in peace and happiness, and that is soul and super soul. And that is what this verse starts with. Shloka 13. Gayam yatat pravakshyami yat gyatvam ashnute anadimat param brahma na sattanna saduchyate. So Krishna begins this particular section by saying, I shall now explain the knowable Gayam, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So what Krishna is saying, that now I'll explain to you Gayam. You asked about it, what is knowable. And then Krishna talks about the result of knowing this knowable, that is soul and super soul. What is the result? Result is amritam ashnute, or you will taste the nectar, taste the eternal. And then Krishna, in this particular verse, Krishna begins to explain the soul. So he's mentioning here Brahman, the soul. What are the qualities? It is beginningless, and at the same time it is mat param, it is subordinate to Krishna, and na sad tan na sad uchyate, it is beyond cause and effect of this material world. So which means that this material world, the spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna. It has no beginning, it has no manufacturing date. We pick up anything, if you look at a medicine box, or if you look at this body also, we have a manufacturing date, right? But for soul, there is no beginning, there is no manufacturing date, and it is subordinate to the Lord, and it is beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So Krishna begins this particular section. He's explaining about the 2 objects to be known, the soul. So Krishna just speaks one word about soul, and balance all verses from 14 all the way to till 19. Krishna will discuss about super soul. So qualities, beginningless, as we saw, that there is no specific date when the living entity was born. the living entity is anadi. In fact, in previous chapter, second chapter also, we saw that there is no birth or death of the living entity. Then next is subordinate to the Lord. So of course Krishna is the master. Now the living entity, Krishna says, in future verses he'll say that the living entity is my part and parcel. So we as spirit soul come from the Lord. The Lord is our master, and this body in Prakriti also comes from the Lord. Both we and the nature, they are energies of the Lord, and Lord is the master or controller of these energies. So naturally Krishna is my master and I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. So this is a point of important contemplation, because my origin is from the Lord, my body's origin is from the Lord. Therefore, I am Lord's servant. I am not anybody else's servant. So he is my supreme master because he is my source. So that is something very important for us to remember. Lies beyond the cause and effect of the material world. So the material world, there is creation, there is maintenance, and there is annihilation. So that all relates to the body. But we are beyond this creation, maintenance, and destruction. We are eternal. So this is the beginning of this section, knowable, and let's move to verses 14 to 18, which discusses the qualities of the super soul. So this is really exciting. In fact, what you can do is, if you have a pen and paper, as we go through this particular section, make the list of different qualities of super soul. Like we saw many qualities of soul in second chapter, similarly we'll have a long list of qualities of super soul. Sarvatah pani padam tat sarvatokshi shiro mukham sarvatah shruti malloke sarvam avritya tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. So we need to understand how this works. So the Lord is there, he is the Shaktiman, and he has a Shakti or energy. He is the energetic, and he has an energy which is Prakriti, and Prakriti further manifests bodies. So whether it is the body of Brahmaji, the topmost living entity in the material world, or an insignificant ant, all these bodies actually manifest from Prakriti, which is an energy of the Lord. Now, in one way, we can say that the Lord and his energy are non-different. So that is how the Lord manifests these different bodies, and that is how he's manifest as unlimited hands, unlimited legs, unlimited eyes, unlimited heads, faces, ears everywhere, because they are living entities everywhere in this material universe. So a good analogy is of sun. So sun is one place, but sun diffuses or pervades the entire universe with its rays or sunshines. So like everything exists in sun rays, all living entities exist within the super soul. So all the living entities in the material world, they are subsisting in the energy of the Lord, in Paramatma. That's how they are situated. All of them are situated in Paramatma. So we see that how Karano Dakshay Vishnu, from him the universe has come. So that process of creation is very important to know. So from him the universe has come. Then Lord enters into each universe as Garbho Dakshay Vishnu, and then he pervades further into heart of every living entity as Shiro Dakshay Vishnu. So an important life lesson: the individual soul cannot say that he has his hands, legs and eyes everywhere. That is not possible. So I have my two hands, but I cannot say that your hands are mine. Neither you can say that these hands are yours. But the Supreme Lord, because these bodies are made up of his energy, so he can say that his hands and his legs and his eyes and his face and his head are spread everywhere. So why is this life lesson important? Is to understand that we are not super soul. Many times impersonalists or Mayavadis make a wrong interpretation of these verses to say that this description from 14th verse all the way till 19th verse is a description of soul. Wrong. This description is of super soul, because all the qualities that are explained here are impossible for a living entity. 15th shloka. Sarvendriya guna bhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva brachaiva nirgunam guna bhoktracha. The super soul. So I hope you are all noting down the qualities of the super soul in the previous verse and this one and the future verses. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. Very interesting, no? These senses, the eyes, the ears, and the skin, the touch, and the taste, and the ability to taste. So all these senses, Krishna is the source. The super soul is the source, and yet he is without senses. Wow. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living entities. So he maintains all living entities, and yet he is unattached. He transcends the modes of nature. He is beyond Sattva Gun, Rajogun, Tamogun. We see this particular point being stated many, many times, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. He is the master of these modes, and yet he is beyond the modes. So these are some of the qualities which are represented, explained of the super soul in a little contradictory way. Why? Because we'll pay attention. The moment we see, how is it possible? So, which means immediately our attention is drawn to it. And this way, this is also way in which Upanishads also present knowledge. So, super soul, Lord has spiritual senses. So although it is stated here the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. That means even the soul, spirit soul, has senses, but our senses are covered with matter. We have a material tongue, we have a material nose, we have a material eye through which we perceive, right? So our senses are covered by matter, whereas the Lord, his senses are not covered by matter. He has senses, but they are uncovered. They are transcendental. They are spiritual. So Lord has spiritual senses. So that's a huge difference between the living entity in the material world and the Supreme Lord and Paramatma. So our senses are at this point contaminated by matter, but Lord's senses, spiritual, they are uncontaminated. They are not touched by the matter or the modes of material nature. So we understand this. See, our eyes have limited vision. Our eyes have limited vision, but Lord has spiritual eyes. He can very well see the past. He knows what we have done in the past, and he can also see our future, what is yet to come to us. So Lord is able to see that, perceive that, but we are not able to do that. And of course, Lord has hands. We will see this also being spoken in future verses as well, that Lord has hands, and that's how he accepts offering of devotees that are offered to him with love by his devotee. Lord is neutral, unattached, although maintainer of all living entities. So Lord is maintaining everyone, yet he is unattached. So he is very neutral. He's a witness, and he maintains all living entities. So he is doing that as his duty. He is neutrally situated there. And Lord appears by his internal potency. So Krishna talks about this in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that he appears through his internal potency. Like we, based on our actions in the past, based on our desires, we are forced to take birth, and forced to take birth in a particular family, to a particular father and a particular mother. We don't have a choice that way. We don't say, no, okay, next birth I want to take birth in family of Ambanis. No, like that I cannot pre-plan my destiny. So I'm forced by my actions of the past and the desires, but Lord is completely independent. He appears by his own sweet will, by his own internal potency. So Lord is not forced by the modes of material nature. So Lord is nirguna and master of the modes of nature. So here we see these three beautiful ladies. They are controlling these living entities in the material world, and Lord is actually their master on the top. Verse 16. Bahir antascha bhutanam acharam charameva cha sukshmatvatad avigyeyam durastham chantike chatat. The Supreme Truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. So the Supreme Truth exists outside. Well, the Supreme Truth, the Supreme Lord is in the spiritual world. He is existing as Karanodaksha Vishnu, and he is also residing in everyone's heart, yours and mine, as Shirodaksha Vishnu. So Lord is residing in our heart as Paramatma. And these living entities, it's mentioned whether they are moving or non-moving, like we are moving living entities, plants are considered to be non-moving living entities. So Lord is existing outside and inside. And this another next point is also very interesting. Sukshmadvat. So Lord is very subtle, and therefore he's beyond the reach of our senses. Sometimes people say, show me God. If God exists, show me, I will accept. So our senses are very blunt. And Lord is actually sukshma, subtle, and is beyond the ability of these senses to grasp him. And that is why it is described that when we perform devotional service, our senses become purified, our mind become purified, and that is how a devotee who's completely dedicated to spiritual activities can actually see the Lord always. And then durastham chantike chatat. So although he is far, far away, where is he? In Golok Vrindavan. How far is it? Oh, we cannot even estimate. This universe, we cannot estimate how big this universe. Scientists give some estimate, but it is really, really big, right? And beyond this one universe, there are so many other universes, and then there is this material cloud, and then beyond that is spiritual world, and the spiritual world, there are so many different planets, and there is Golok Vrindavan, and Lord is there. So Lord is very, 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 very far away, and yet he's also very, very near. So as we know from Bhagavad Gita, Lord is residing in the heart, where Lord is also in the Archa Vigraha, or the deity in the temple. So that way also Lord is very close. Every day morning, if we want, we can go to the temple and have darshan of the Lord. So Lord is very near as well. So super soul, we see that all the contradictory qualities, they are reconciled in him. Lord is outside and inside. So see, it is very, very interesting or very important to note that all these contradictions prove that living entities are not God. Neither God is a ordinary living entity. So they are two distinct personalities. So that is one thing that should become very, very clear from this. So Lord is outside and inside of all, beyond the power of the material senses. So the atheist may speak like that, but even we should not try to see God, by our blunt senses. We must act in a way. Prabhupada would always say that we must act in a way that God wants to see us. Right? So when we perform very nice devotional service, then Lord becomes so attracted to us, and he wants to, make himself available to us. He is far, far away, and yet he is near to all. So like this devotee, he is worshipping the deity of Radha Madhav. Right? So like that, we can worship the Lord. Right? So we have this course also, Worship at Home. And some of you give very, very good reviews that it has helped you establish a temple at home and offer proper worship to the Supreme Lord. So another life lesson: although we do not see Lord's head, face, hands and legs, he has them. Lord is not impersonal. It is not some impersonal thing like some religions say, God has no form, and they will criticize the devotees. When we are elevated to the transcendental platform, we can see the Lord's form. So we have to wait. We have to become qualified, and we have to wait for the grace of the Lord. When Lord's grace is there, then Lord will reveal himself. When Lord is pleased with us, Lord will reveal himself to us. Verse 17. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam bhutabhritri cha tadgeyam garishishnu prabhavishnu cha. Although the supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. Another very, very important and very interesting point. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. So we may say, you have a Paramatma in your heart, and you may say, I have a Paramatma in my heart, and all of us who are attending this session, and those who are not, all the living entities, including the bug and the dog and the cat and the tree, everybody has Paramatma in them. So we may say, oh, this Paramatma 1, this Paramatma 2, this Paramatma 3. No, he's one person. He appears divided. But your Paramatma, my Paramatma, they are one person. He's never divided. He's situated as one. So that's another amazing attribute of the Supreme Lord, Super Soul. And another quality is that although he maintains all living entities, but when time comes, at the end of Brahma's day, annihilation. All the bodies are destroyed. And at the beginning of the Brahma's day morning, then again the bodies are supplied, and then in between they will keep changing bodies, body after body after body after body. So that's how the Lord develops all, maintains them, and then devours them. So Super Soul is undivided. A very important, very important quality of the Super Soul. Although Lord appears in all living entities, yet he is the one and same person. So how we can understand this is, when the sun rises and it is on the meridian, the sun is on the meridian. So whether we go meridian, we understand, what is it? Longitude. So whether we go north or we go south, at that particular place, the sun is on the highest position in the sky, whichever position. So if the sun is at a particular, like we go on higher latitudes, the sun is lower. And if we have near equator, it is on the head. So, but anyway, when the sun comes on meridian, it is at the highest position in the sky. So whether somebody is in north or south hemisphere, he will see the sun on the highest position. So similarly, the soul is visible and is pervading in all living entities, same personality, same super soul. Jyotisham abhitad jyotis tamasa paramuchyate jnanam geyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Wow, so many different qualities of Paramatma. I hope we are making a list. Hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. So Lord is residing in everyone's heart. So many times multiple times this point also has been stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. So that is another thing. So we have many luminous objects, like we have the sun, we have the moon, we have the stars, even the lightning and even the fire. All luminous objects, the source of light is actually the Super Soul, the Supreme Lord. And he is beyond the darkness of matter and is uncontaminated. So is unmanifest. So this material world, actually, I don't know whether you have ever noticed It's all about observing our universe is dark. That is its position. Our universe is completely dark. Yes, during the day sun rises, we have bright sunshine, right? But in the night we actually see the actual position of the universe. So universe is completely dark. And if you study the astronomy as given in Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's mentioned that this universe is actually it has a shell. Within this shell, all the planets and stars, everything is there within the shell, right? So this shell is also described how different layers are 10 times bigger than the previous layer. So like that, it's a very hard shell. And this shell was actually broken by Lord Vamana's toe when it went and it touched and cracked open the shell of the universe. From there, the celestial Ganges or Ganga, she descended. So Lord is beyond the darkness of matter, beyond the darkness of this universe, and he is unmanifested. So in this material world we cannot perceive with our senses, and that is why the atheists take advantage of this and say there is no God. And again, this his knowledge, object of knowledge, and so these three things are also when it is Lord is knowledge. How do we understand this? See, before in India we have some culture left, some Sanatan Vedic culture still left. So that's why many people in India, or at least some, know there's something called soul, there's something called Supermatma, Atma. Some people have some basic knowledge. Otherwise, many places of the world, people have no idea at all. So from where this knowledge comes of soul, super soul, Prakriti, Kal. In fact, the kind of knowledge that we know now is all possible because of Bhagavad Gita or the Lord. So Lord is knowledge. Lord is the source of all this knowledge about these different. Otherwise, on our own, it is not possible. Like we saw in one of the previous verses, Sukshmatvat, that Lord is very subtle, cannot know him, not possible. What experiment we can do? How the science can find out God? Science is incapable of finding out God. So such knowledge. So Lord is all knowledge. He is the object of knowledge. Which means if I am anxious to get out of this material world, I know life is so miserable and I must get out. So people who are looking for liberation, well, Lord is their object of knowledge. So if they know the Lord by their knowledge of Lord, that itself gives them liberation. So Lord is the object of knowledge and Lord is goal of knowledge. So this point is, which means if we study the Vedas, the real knowledge, if we study Upanishads, what are they guiding us towards? What are they revealing? What are Vedas revealing? Vedas and Upanishads revealing the Supreme Lord and how we must reconnect with Him. So that is how Lord is all the three. So with this verse, we are concluding this particular section about Gayam. Remember, we studied Gayam or the object of knowledge, and 13th verse was about soul, and 14th till 19th, all these verses are about super soul. I hope you have been making the list. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam Gayam choktam samasataha madbhakta etad vigyaya madbhavayopapadyate. Thus the field of activities, the body, knowledge and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. So Krishna is concluding in the 19th verse that Krishna has already explained about the body or kshetra. He has explained about knowledge. We saw the verses 8 to 12. And then knowable or kshetragya, the objects of knowledge. So Krishna has explained about them. He's saying, I have summarily explained this to you. And then he makes a remarkable point. Mad bhakta etad vigyaya. Only my devotee can understand this. So that is why sometimes we see that people of other religious faith who have no faith in Bhagavad Gita, who have no faith in Krishna, who are not devotees of the Lord, they try to, open Bhagavad Gita or Vedic scripture and try to quote left, right, and center. So that doesn't work. They speak, but they speak without proper understanding, or without understanding, I would say. Why? Because Krishna says, Mat bhakta etat vigyaya. Only my devotees can understand this. Others, it's this. That's why this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is guhya, or is confidential. It is not, I mean, it's an English language or any vernacular, Tamil, Telugu, Hindi. The knowledge is available in language that we know, but it does not get revealed because the lock is there. Lock is of devotion. With devotion, we can unlock and then we can gain this knowledge. So qualification to understand Krishna is Mad Bhakta, my devotee. If somebody is devotee of some other personality, some devata, some man, some hero, some cricketer, no, this knowledge will not be revealed. Mad Bhakta, Krishna says, my devotee, who worships me, who's my devotee, they can understand this knowledge. Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, Gyam. And Krishna repeats yet again, only by devotees, Mad Bhakta. Please understand the importance of Bhakti Yoga. No, it is Bhakti Yoga. There is a spelling mistake. So Krishna repeats yet again, only my devotees, please understand the importance of Bhakti Yoga. Right? If we become humble and sincere devotees of the Lord, my life will become perfect. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. So we move to the, we have some more time left, so we move to the next section, the enjoyer, which is the, 7 verses, 20 to 26 verses, the enjoyer. Now, so in this particular section, Krishna explains about the living entity, that is you and me, and explains about the Prakriti and how they connect with each other, how they join with each other, because we can understand that how intimately we are connected with this body, because we think we are the body. Yes or no? Bhagavad Gita is saying we are not this body, we are not this body, we are not this body, we are spirit soul, we are spirit soul, we are reading, we are listening. But day-to-day basis, we live as if we are this body. So we are so intimately, stuck with this understanding. So Krishna explains why this happens. And actually the simple answer is because of ignorance. Because of ignorance, we think with this body. So how the spirit soul living entity comes in contact with matter, and how the living entity of the jiva, who is the knower of the field, comes in contact with matter. So these are some of the questions that we will understand in this particular section. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidhyanadi ubhavapi vikaramscha gunamschaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. So sometimes we will see that although Purusha word refers to the Supreme Lord, but actually the meaning of Purusha is enjoyer. And the living entities in this material world, right, like us, we also have so much of enjoying tendency, and therefore this word Purusha is used for us as well, for the living entities. Material nature, Prakriti, and living entities, Purusham, should be understood to be beginningless. Chaiva vidhi anadi bhavapi. So they are considered as anadi. So material nature is anadi, beginningless. Living entities also beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are produced of material nature. So the living entity, the soul is eternal, matter or Prakriti is eternal, and the transformations and the modes of nature are product of material nature. So what we need to understand is, although both are energies of the Lord, although both are beginningless, the body, the senses, the happiness and distress produced by the senses, the lamentation, the illusion, all of this arises from Prakriti, not the living entity. All of this arises from Prakriti. So the body comes from matter, the senses come from matter, the happiness and distress and lamentation, illusion, they all arise by the interactions of modes and matter. So they all arise from Prakriti and not the living entity. So material creation. So before the creation, material nature existed, living entities existed, they were absorbed in the Supreme Lord or Mahavishnu. At the time of creation, what happened? Material nature and the jivas, the material nature manifested the bodies on the instruction of the Lord, and the jivas were given different bodies. And jiva was given a chance to act in a way in the material world so that they can enter the spiritual world. So again, we can really connect with this. We have so many different types of desires. Some desires are fulfilled, some desires are unfulfilled. So what do we do about those unfulfilled desires? We want to fulfill? Yes. Also, we have done certain kinds of activities in the past. So we are due to receive the reactions for those activities? Yes. So based on the actions that we have done and based on the unfulfilled desires that we have, the supercomputer of the Lord works and then decides, oh, okay, this person, based on actions and based on desires, should be given a body of a pig. Good, good. Just the right body. And for somebody else, oh, this person, done a lot of pious activities, he's in mode of goodness and he has done a lot of austerities, I should be given a body of a devata. So like this, the different bodies are allocated at the time of creation, and then the living entity gets a body, and then it gets, yeah, I got a body, I have so many desires, and then gets into action mode. Purusha, of course, Purusha means the master, the controller, the enjoyer, the proprietor, and the maintainer, and therefore this word in all good sense can refer to the Supreme Lord, but it refers to the living entity who's not the master but has the mentality of being the master. So that is the catch. Hence, he is referred to Purusha at many times. So this living entity, I cannot even control this body. I cannot control the aging. Can I? Can I control the beating of the heart? They may say there are involuntary organs in the body which cannot be controlled, like the liver and the kidneys and the heart and the lungs. So many involuntary organs are there, but even, okay, some control is there. It is not that everything is out of control. That's not the case, but we have some, but we cannot really control the changes of the body. Like the child is born, we discussed this particular example earlier also. In the womb of the mother, the father impregnates the mother, and then what? And then the body continues to change, and then the child comes out and continues to change. We have very, very little control over this body. So we are not really the master, not really the controller, but we think we are the master, and therefore we have this tendency to enjoy this matter. Although it belongs to the Lord, but I want to enjoy God's property. So that is why the word Purusha is used. Life lesson. It really does not matter how the living entity have come in contact with material nature. It is important to focus on how can we get out. Isn't it? The nature is eternal, Jiva is eternal, and still we are stuck together in this material, constantly changing bodies. So rather than opening, why and how and when it happened, it is more important that we look forward. Whatever happened, it happened. I'm living with that, the result of that. I'm living it now. So I'm not bothered much about what happened in the past. I'm really looking forward to that. How can I open the door and move out and get out of this place? 21st verse. Karya karana kartritve hetu prakritiruchyate purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktritve heturuchyate. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So we understand that from Prakriti or nature comes the body, comes the senses. These senses produce some enjoyment, some suffering, And because I'm in the enjoyment tendency, or the mood of enjoying, the Purusha mood, and therefore whatever the enjoyment the senses produce, I say, yeah, I want to enjoy this. And whatever suffering senses produce, I become very distressed and sad about this. So this verse explains the relationship between Jiva and Prakriti. So Prakriti or nature provides the body, provides the senses, which in turn produce happiness and distress. And the living entity, the Jiva, it is the enjoyer of that happiness and distress produced by senses. So this is very important. We are the enjoyer of the happiness and distress produced by the senses. Otherwise, actually, the living entity Jiva has nothing to do with the body, has nothing to do with the senses, has nothing to do with this material world. But because it is trying to enjoy, because it is trying to lord it over, and therefore is looking, I want to enjoy this material, I want to enjoy this material world. So whatever happiness produced by sense, I'm enjoying now, I'm enjoying. So that is how the Prakriti and Jiva, they get stuck with each other. So as we are discussing, the actions that we have done in the past, that unfulfilled desires that I have, based on that, material nature gives us 8 options of 8.4 million species. 84 lakh species of life are there. So these are the various options in which we can get, and we can continue to enjoy ourselves. So 8.4 million species represent different desires for enjoyment a living entity may have. So much variety exists. Some may want to enjoy eating the unthinkable, to get a body of pig, can eat anything on the surface, right? It does not really discriminate. Whereas if you look at cows, they are very choosy in what they want to eat. My happiness and my distress are a cumulative result of my past choices, because my past choice has given me a particular body, and based on that, some happiness and distress is coming to me. The responsibility of making those choices rests with me alone. So that responsibility of making choices is with me. Whether I want another material body, or do I want spiritual body and freedom from this material body once and for all. So 22nd verse. Purusha prakriti sthohi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. The living entity in the material world thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. Although it is not the modes of nature, although it is not this body, yet it identifies with the body, and therefore this is happening. So living entity in the material world, following the ways of life, enjoys the 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. So although the living entity is completely aloof from matter, but certain living entities, as I was explaining, is in the body of the hog. Some living entity is in the body of the worm. The worms, some living entity are in those bodies also. So being influenced and trying to enjoy these modes of material nature, they meet some good, like good species means higher devatas, they are good species. Some are evil species, like we have among plants, cactuses are not considered so good, or poisonous plants are considered like that, or some other living entities which give pain, inflict pain on others. So like that. So by ignorance we think we are the body and this mind, and thus we suffer and we move from different, we get some good and evil results in different species. So Jiva's association with modes and his transmigration. So because of that, We transmigrate from one body to another body. So we misidentify with Prakriti. We think we are this body. And we misuse our minute independence. When somebody comes and tells us, we become serious in spiritual life, we don't regard him. We ignore him. Right? And we want to continue enjoying this material body. So these two things, they force us. So this picture is very interesting. We see that on one side we have the deity of death, and the other side we have the deity of birth. So we are dying, right? We are losing this body, and then we are getting another body. So on the top, although it is shown human form, but in the bottom we see that there is actually the different living entities which are shown, right? So it is not that we have a human form, we'll always have human form. We may actually downgrade to any of the animal species as well. So this is because we are so closely intertwined because we misidentify with matter and we misuse our minute independence. So this freedom is given to us by the Supreme Lord. This freedom is given to us that in whatever situation we are in, there is always a choice that is with us. We always have a choice, this way or that way. Right? So we can never say that we have no choice. Right? So the whole game is of making the right choices, and that is why we have scriptures, we have acharyas, we have devotees who help us, give us principles. By using those principles, we can make the right choices. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. So because we have material desires since the beginning of time, so our material consciousness, we will always make choices which will give us one body after another body after another body. The only way to break this chain is to change our consciousness. Move from bodily conscious or material consciousness to spiritual or Krishna consciousness. Then only we can break this cycle. So thank you very much for joining in. And we'll complete this section in the next session. Hopefully, Sugiti also would be joining in that particular session. And I would be available to take your questions. If you have any questions, please hold back and you can ask your questions. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita as it is, ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Hare Krishna. So if you have any questions, then you can raise your hand. So Ganganath Govind Das, I am requesting you to unmute yourself. Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Where is Mataji, Prabhuji?
She will hopefully join next session.
Haribol. Okay, with regards. Prabhuji, we are taking screenshots of your display, but sometimes it is focus is not exactly not giving.
Okay, so if you are accessing our website studygita.com, this whole course is available and it has the notes. You can download the PDF notes.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so all the notes are available. Whatever we present on the slides, everything is available in notes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Haribol.
Yes, Bhavin.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I hope Mataji is good and fine. Her health is good.
Improving.
So, right. So my regards to both of you. Prabhuji, very, very silly question, I would say. Even I felt that whether I should ask or not. But one thing, like we are talking about three things in this entire Bhagavad Gita. One is body, one is soul, and one is super soul. But at times I've seen that in various uh, uh, chapters, it has been addressed with different names, and that actually creates a lot of confusion personally to me. So how
Like
to
what?
address that?
Like what?
So can you please help me to solve this issue?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, what has created confusion? So, if you give me an example, then I can answer easily. See, one thing which we need
Like,
to understand when you said body, the soul, and super soul, actually, there are 5 topics which Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita. If you know these 5 topics and then you read the verse, you can place, oh, Krishna is talking about this particular topic here. So like that, the clarity can come.
okay.
One is God.
So yeah,
One is God. So, God, whether Lord speaks about himself, Lord speaks about Paramatma. Then Jiva or the living entity. So, super soul, soul. Then next, Lord talks about Prakriti.
right,
So in Prakriti, Lord talks about Prakriti, talks about matter, talks about the modes of material nature. All of that is within Prakriti.
right,
And then the Lord talks about time factor. We saw in the 11th chapter. Lord talks about time.
time,
Yeah, the all-devouring power, power of the Lord, in which because of time everything deteriorates, because of which everything annihilates.
correct, Prabhuji.
That is the time factor, and karma, the activities and the reactions to those actions. So these are the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita. If you know these 5 topics, everything you can one or the other category.
Right, Prabhuji. I think thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so Arvind, I'm requesting to unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks for the wonderful class. I just have a doubt on sloka number 20, where it is mentioned Prakriti is beginningless. But Prakriti is created, right? The Lord creates the material nature. Just wanted to give some clarification.
Yeah, in this verse, Prakritin Purusham Chaiva with the Anadi Bhavaprapi. So the word is used Anadi for both Prakriti and living entity. So both of them are beginningless. So how we can understand this is that both of them are energies of the Lord. Lord is beginningless, correct?
Yeah.
His energies are also beginningless.
Okay.
Sometimes they manifest, like Prakriti, it manifests, there's a creation, there's a maintenance, there's a destruction, and then it becomes unmanifest. And then
okay, so we should take it as reference as the energy of the Lord, not literally the Prakriti itself.
Sorry?
So we should take it as a reference to the energy of the Lord.
Yeah, yes. It is energy of the Lord. There is nothing else that exists, either the Lord or his energies and his energies.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. No more questions. I thought there'll be some questions in this session. Okay, so Hare Krishna. All the best. So today is Pandav Nijal Ekadashi. I hope you are observing Ekadashi fast, and those who can and whose health permits, hopefully you're observing Nirjala, but it's okay. If you're not able to do that, at least observe Ekadashi. Okay. Yeah, so some of you are doing. Okay, Mahalakshmi says Nirjala Ekadashi. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And I also request that if it's possible, try to join in morning japa, morning 6 to 8, even if you're able to join for a little time. But do join in, chant few rounds. We chant in the presence of the Supreme Lord. We have beautiful Shri Shri Radha Krishna Lalita Vishakha, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, Lakshmi Narsimha, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. So in their presence, although you may say that it's a slideshow, but actually the Lord is not different from his image. So in their divine presence, we sit and we chant japa and we try to meditate and hear the holy name. So it's a very, very important thing that we join and chant japa.